The number of beef cows in the United States drops to the lowest level since 1962 as the global food crisis intensifies, Michael Snyder reports. Americans need to be prepared to eat a lot less beef because the size of the national cattle herd is steadily shrinking. And of course, this is happening in the context of a much larger crisis. As I detailed in a previous article, even CNN is admitting that we are currently in the midst of the worst food crisis in modern history. But even though children are literally dropping dead from starvation on the other side of the planet, a lot of people here in the United States refuse to take this crisis seriously. As long as their stomachs are full, they think that everything is just fine. But the truth is that conditions are also starting to get tight here in the United States. According to the latest biannual report from the USDA, the number of beef cows in this country has fallen to the lowest level since 1962. The USDA's biannual cattle report showed that as of January 1st, 2023, there is an 89.3 million head inventory, which is 3% lower than the total from a year ago and the lowest since 2015. Of that number, 38.3 million cows and heifers have calved. Additionally, there are 28.9 million beef cows, which are those explicitly bred for slaughter and meat sales as of the start of this year, which is down nearly 4% from last year, and the lowest the agency has recorded since 1962. In 1962, 184 million people lived in the United States. Today, that number has risen to 331 million. So we have a problem. But even though beef prices have been soaring, most Americans don't realize the gravity of this shortage yet because we're still eating cattle that were slaughtered some time ago. And according to livestock economist Kenny Burdine, cattle production's downward trend does not seem like it will reverse in 2023. University of Kentucky's Kenny Burdine and James Mitchell, extension livestock economist for the University of Arkansas System Division of Agriculture, recently explained that there was no question that the beef cow herd had gotten smaller, and that the cattle production's downward trend does not seem like it will reverse in 2023. There's a pretty substantial biological lag in the beef supply chain, Mitchell noted. What consumers experience at the grocery store is a product of what cattle producers were going through a year or two ago. It takes about 2 years for a new calf to become the steak on your dinner plate. The corporate media is already calling beef a luxury meat, and prices are inevitably going to go a lot higher in the months ahead. So if you love beef, you should stock up now. Meanwhile, food shortages continue to intensify all over the globe. In Yemen, literally millions of children suffer from acute malnutrition at this point. The Global Hunger Index currently ranks Yemen the worst in the world for level of hunger. Millions of Yemeni children, in some areas as many as 95%, according to doctors in these areas that I spoke to, suffer from acute malnutrition. The resulting stunted physical development had me convinced that I was in a kindergarten classroom when in fact I was meeting with 8- and 9-year-olds. And those children were, as a colleague unnervingly put it, the lucky ones. In North Korea, ordinary citizens are reportedly dropping dead every day due to the severe famine that's taking place in that nation. This is the moment Kim Jong-un and his cronies gorged on popcorn and champagne as North Korea faces the worst famine in 3 decades. Stockpiles of food are dwindling fast in the secretive state, and dozens of malnourished North Koreans are reportedly dropping dead every day on the streets. In Somalia, the longest and most severe drought in that country has produced unprecedented suffering. 80% of women and children, about 1.3 million people, have been internally displaced in Somalia by the drought sweeping the Horn of Africa. After 5 consecutive poor rainy seasons, the ongoing drought has already become the longest and most severe in Somalia's recent history. Close to 23 million people are thought to be highly food insecure in Somalia, Ethiopia, and Kenya, according to a food security working group chaired by the UN Food and Agricultural Organization and the Regional Intergovernmental Authority on Development. Sadly, most of us in the Western world don't care about poor people in other side of the globe, so let me give you an example from the Western world. In the UK, the largest supermarkets are now strictly rationing many fruits and vegetables, even though they're buying them from North Africa. Now, the UK largest, where supposedly they don't have any problem. Now, so what's happening? The UK's largest supermarket, Tesco, and discounter Aldi have said they're putting limits of 3 per customer on sales of tomatoes, peppers, and cucumbers. Asda has capped sales of lettuce, salad bags, broccoli, cauliflower, and raspberry punnets to 3 per customer, along with tomatoes, peppers, and cucumbers. And Morrison's has set limits of 2 on cucumbers, tomatoes, lettuce, and peppers. And it's being reported that approximately 22% of all British households skipped meals or even fasted for a whole day in January. A British NGO has warned that as many as 4 million children are now in food poverty amid the ongoing cost of living crisis. We're talking about the UK here. Now, the survey on behalf of the Food Foundation, an NGO which promotes healthy eating, found that 22% households said they had skipped meals or even fasted for a whole day in January this year, an increase of the 12% reporting the same at the start of last year. This is really happening, but it can be really easy for those that still have plenty of food to turn a blind eye to the suffering of others. Sadly, this is just the beginning. As I prove, my new book, Global Food Production, will drop precipitously in the years ahead. No matter what our leaders do now, we're running out of topsoil. Fertilizer supplies will become insanely tight in the years ahead, and trillions of extremely small particles of plastic are literally raining out of the sky on farms all over the planet. Many of our leaders understand what's going to happen, but they don't want to alarm the general public. Those that are wise will see what's happening and will get prepared. Unfortunately, most of the population continues to assume that everything will magically work out just fine somehow, and so they will not be ready for the horrors that are ahead of us. This is by Michael Snyder, about the author. He says, "My name is Michael. My brand new book entitled End Times is now available on Amazon. In addition to my new book, I've written 6 other books that are available on Amazon, including 7-Year Apocalypse, Lost Prophecies of the Future of America, The Beginning of the End, and Living a Life That Really Matters. When you purchase any of these books, you help to support the work that I'm doing. And one way that you can really help is by sending copies as gifts to family and friends. Time is short, and I need help getting these warnings into the hands of as many people as possible. I've published thousands of articles on the Economic Collapse blog, End of the American Dream, and Most Important News. And the articles that I publish on those sites are republished on dozens of other prominent websites all over the globe. I always freely and happily allow others to republish my articles on their own websites, but I also ask that they include this about the author section with each article. The materials contained in this article is for general information purposes only, and readers should consult licensed professionals before making any legal, business, financial, or health decisions. I encourage you to follow me on social media, Facebook and Twitter, and any way that you can share these articles with others is definitely a great help. These are such troubled times and people need hope. John 3:16 tells us about the hope that God has given us through Jesus Christ. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. If you have not already done so, I strongly urge you to invite Jesus Christ to be your Lord and Savior today. This is by Michael Snyder on the Economic Collapse blog. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box.